I would like to show you a planning process. We are here in Berlin and we see electricity data. Before we start sketching assets in a design, we actually need to do an assessment of the demand, what needs to be replaced, what needs to be renewed. So for that, we actually use the age structure of the assets. So we have a thematic map showing that age structure and finding accumulations of very old elements. By the way, the color coding here is the redder, the older, the greener, the younger are the assets in that thematic map. So you see accumulation of older cables here in the east, and there's also some older cables in the west. We want to focus on the east side, and so we actually go there and look for the real age of these cables. So we use the identify, and if we open the medium voltage cable, then we see that this cable is from 1949, so it's more than 70 years old. The low voltage cable is 3 years younger, so it's also worth to replace it. So now we actually start our planning job. We use Works tool for that, and we create a new job and we call it Neubaugebiet or new construction area. And we choose the job type, and it's a planning job. So we create that, and then you see it in the list down here, and we open that project. Now you get an error message. That's not a problem, because that error message tells me that for a planning job we need to have a polygon indicating the area where the work will happen. So now I sketch this polygon in the area I want to place my new assets. So now the planning job opens, and actually opens the so-called planning manager, where we'll come to in a few minutes. So now I create my new assets, and for example I choose a route object. And this route object, I will create now or sketch now a new path for that route. I click here, 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 here and down here. And now the system creates that route. And this route, as you see it also in the name, is probably a little bit more than just the route, but I come to that in a minute. So now the route is created, and I just unselect it and I zoom to it a little bit more, so we see the route path a little bit more in detail. So now, as you see, the route is not the only thing I created. I created also a low voltage cable, a medium voltage cable and a signal cable. They are nicely parallel to that route. And when I look at the attributes of these assets, you see that we have all these assets listed up here. And when I open the attribute form of the route, and when I go to the containment associations, so what is inside that route, you see that there is already an association between the route, the signal cable, the medium voltage cable and the low voltage cable. That means with the template which I just selected, I have 4 elements created in one drawing. And these 4 elements are linked together. So the route is the master object of the 3 cables. Okay, now we actually look at the planning manager again. And now it's actually more interesting. You see now that it has a listing of all the elements we added, and you see the route. and you see the low voltage cable, the medium voltage cable, and this signal cable. So these are now the elements which are grouped in this planning phase or in this planning manager. And now by pressing the finish button, I could also transfer that information to other external systems, for example, SAP, to process that information further, or to do, for example, the initial procurement.